Hey guys, we're a minute late and it's all Nisha's fault. She broke the tripod, but I was able to fix it and salvage this live, so you're welcome. And welcome. Is it live? Is it on?
Yeah. I hope you're on the right page.
I think I'm on the right page. We'll see. I don't know. So, I am Dr. Ken Berry, board certified family physician, and this is Nurse Nisha.
You're on the wrong page.
No, I'm not. I promise I'm not. Hey guys, am I on the wrong page?
No, you're on the right page.
Okay, thank you. All right, very good. So we are here with you. It's Monday night, isn't it?
It is.
So this is Monday Night Live.
Memorial Day, Monday night.
7 p.m. Central Standard. We're on every Monday night, come hell or high water. And we're actually in another time zone. So you'd be proud of us. We actually made it at almost the right time.
I guess it is.
I think.
Maybe.
I think it's right. I'm not sure. Yeah. And so we wanted to jump on here and talk to you guys, maybe answer a few questions, talk to you about Baby Berry. And then we have a special guest star who's going to pop in and chat with me for a minute. You may notice our background is different. We're not at home. We're actually on the road. How come you're getting so much of the camera? Give me some of
I'm
that.
hotter than you.
Well, yeah. Yeah, but okay. All right. Okay. So how you doing?
I'm okay.
So are you going to give us a baby update?
I don't know. Am I?
I don't know. Are you?
I guess.
I hope so.
Some, almost 19 weeks.
Nice.
Almost halfway
Almost
there.
halfway.
Yeah.
Because you know what happens in another 20 weeks.
God.
Yeah.
Let's not speak of it. I'm not
That
ready for that
happens,
yet. I'm
yeah.
not ready to talk about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Hey, Jordan.
But we are going to tell you if this baby is a...
Boy or a girl?
Boy
We
or
actually
girl.
found out, and now we know. And we told our patrons and Facebook supporters last week. So they've known for a whole week, and they were sworn to secrecy. They couldn't tell anybody. And so they've been very tight-lipped about that, and we appreciate
Yeah, we appreciate it.
I know.
we appreciate our patrons and our supporters
All of
for
our family and everybody that's
Yeah.
close to us already knows.
Yeah, our keto fam kept our secret for an entire week. And so we're very thankful for that and also for their support. We love those guys. And so we're going to tell you guys if it's a Baby Berry boy or girl here in a few minutes after we...
Put your votes in the comments.
Yeah, do you think it's a boy or a girl? What have you been feeling?
What's your vibe?
Yeah, what's your vibe? What's going on in Nisha's belly? We know it's just a singleton, so don't get all carried away with twins and triplets and stuff.
No.
It's not a puppy. It's not twins. It's either one
it's a
boy
baby.
or one girl.
Could be oysters.
Could be. Well, there's some oysters in there right now for sure.
She just had about
in that vicinity.
3 dozen oysters on the half show. Yeah.
Did
We're
not
in
have 3 dozen. But I
close,
could have.
close.
I could have
We're
eaten.
actually in New England right now. Can anybody guess where we are? Does anybody know this background? Can you tell? I'm gonna freak out if somebody guesses it.
I will too.
Yeah, that'll be freaky.
That would be weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're a fan level like expert or stalker, if you know what this background is.
So, what were you feeling? Were you surprised when you found
I
out what he
was
was?
100% surprised.
You were surprised. You were
Yes.
thinking it was going to be the other gender.
Yes.
Ah,
Because
excellent. I don't see
that's
anybody
just-
guessing. I don't see any
Yeah,
guesses
there's some guesses.
in the comments. You guys think it's a boy or a girl?
Oh, somebody said stand up so they can see.
Oh
the
yeah,
ball.
they want to see the bump. Yeah, let's see the bump. Hang on, I'll
Or you
adjust
can,
here.
okay, well you can just scoot it back.
There's the bump.
That's
Oh,
not good enough. You're gonna have to scoot this
okay. Let
back.
me lock it back. Scoot it back if you think that'll work.
Of course it'll work.
Okay. So what do you think? It's kind of carrying medium. I don't think that's low or high.
I think it's like average. You
yeah,
know.
it's just average. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Have you had? Okay. Another thing. Have you had any cravings? Like any special weird cravings?
No, I just don't like meat very much.
No, don't like. She had a meat aversion there for a while.
Steak,
It's starting to go
especially.
away now. But
Yeah.
yeah. So, anything else? Any other questions, you guys, that might help you? Hey, Carrie Brown, that might help you guess the gender of Baby Berry? Any other questions you
We have
got?
2,100 people watching right now. This is a very popular live, yeah.
Yeah.
Usually it's like 1,200, so wow.
Yeah.
Y'all really want to know what this baby is.
Maybe it's because we're not at home. We're not in the woods and the sticks, and so I don't know.
I don't think
You think
so.
it's related to our geography?
I don't
It's
think
weird,
so.
right?
I don't think
know.
so.
Okay. So anybody?
Nausea, and I had a lot of nausea.
She had
vomiting.
severe meat aversion and quite a bit of nausea the first
If I didn't
trimester.
take my medicine, I puked all the time.
And it was almost like, remember the character from South Park? He would just be like talking, then a girl would walk up and he'd be like, bleh. That's how she would do it. It's just like, boom, pew. So I don't know if that means boy or girl.
The heart rate was in the 140s.
Oh, do you have blue earrings on?
Well,
Is that a hint?
they're like teal.
Is that a
They're not
hint?
really.
I don't know if that's
Also, I
hint
have a
or
pink
not.
tank top on, so. Yeah.
Yeah, so everything's going good though. You're feeling baby kicks.
Yeah, baby kicks and yeah.
Excellent. Are you ready? You ready to tell?
Yeah,
Or
we're gonna
do you,
do-
maybe we should wait till the end and have our special guest
No,
star.
that's mean.
Perfect.
That's mean. All right, we're gonna say 1, 2, 3. It's and then.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready?
Has everybody guessed? Put your guess in so that you can, for posterity, you can say, "I knew it."
Ready?
1,
2, 3.
It's
a
a
boy! Yay!
Yeah!
Team Blue! Team Blue!
Baby Barry is a boy.
We're
Cletus Bartholomew.
Actually, he's a young man. That's what we're gonna say.
Oh, young
He's a
man?
young man.
Okay,
Yeah, he's not a
wow.
boy. There's no boys in the Barry family.
yeah.
Only young men.
Only men. Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, it's a boy, and we're still working on names. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we're so excited. When we found out, I think we both cried.
We did both cry because we were pretty sure it was going to be a girl because that's the last 3 have been girls from him. So.
Mhm. Yeah. Plus, I was looking at the bill for the ultrasound, and I think that's probably part of the reason I tuned up. So no, I was very emotional, very happy to get back in the boy track.
Yeah.
Had enough girls.
Like in my gut, I thought it was a boy, but then I was like, it'll be a girl
Yeah.
because
Yeah. I love all my Barry girls, but I was ready for a boy.
the earth has plenty of berry girls right now.
So baby Barry is a boy,
Yep.
and we expect him to arrive in mid-October.
October 24th is my official due date, but obviously that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, so we're very excited, and we appreciate you for following us and being part of this journey, and being part of our keto family. We
Yeah.
really love having you here and doing this with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's all my part tonight. We have a special guest with us tonight. Well,
Yes.
actually, we're the guest in his house.
That's
but
right.
He's the guest of this Facebook Live. So without further ado,
Yes.
you gonna introduce
Yeah.
our special guest?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to get out of the way.
I'm moving.
Okay.
I'm going.
All right.
Get-
So I'm very honored to once again be on a Facebook Live with the Right Honorable Carl Franklin.
Hi.
Carl Franklin from
Hey.
the Two Keto Dudes.
Kind of 3 now.
Yeah, 2 keto dudes and a chick.
and
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, and a dudette. And you're also quite famous for another podcast.
Yeah. Software development podcast. I was one of the first podcasters ever. 2002.
2002?
Yeah, it was before the word
Was
existed.
podcasting a thing then?
No.
You just called it a internet show.
Internet audio talk show for developers. Software
That's what you
developers.
called it, yeah, before you even knew what a podcast was.
Yep.
So welcome, Carl Franklin, to our Facebook Live.
Welcome to my house.
And thank
My
you
town.
for having us at your house. Yeah, we love New London, and we're glad to be back with you guys.
So, of course, we had, Memorial Day prime rib and oysters and lobster and all that stuff today. But the reason you're here, there's a very special reason, isn't it?
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
actually here.
Yeah, talk about that.
Oh, all right. Well, you remember that book that Ken wrote and that I was doing the audio version of?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're here. But we're doing something special for the Audible version.
So this is not going to be just a regular Audible book
Right.
where some, dude just reads the chapters and that's the end of it. Basically, first of all, the voice of Lies My Doctor Told Me is going to be Carl Franklin. That
Right.
beautiful, melodious voice of his is going to be the voice of Lies My Doctor Told Me. And so, but at the end of each chapter, we're doing something a little different.
Right.
At the end of each chapter, Carl and I, Nisha and I flew up and we were in the studio all day today.
Yeah.
And at the end of each chapter, Carl and I basically pick apart the chapter and we'll riff about some interesting point or something that I didn't go into enough detail about. Carl tells a couple of stories about his journey.
You tell stories from medical school.
I tell you, yeah, there's medical school stories in which I got in trouble and otherwise. And so I think that you're going to find that the Audible book has a lot more value than it would have been if just some dude read the chapters.
Right.
And so I'm really excited about that and really excited to offer that Audible version. It should be available in June if Carl will get
Yeah,
in
we
here
hope so.
and get all the editing done.
We hope so. I mean, I've already done all but 4 chapters. I just have to review those chapters and do 4 new chapters.
Yeah.
and then put it all together. So
Exactly.
it shouldn't take long.
And so I think it'll be well worth the money. We tried to put as much value
Yeah.
into this as we could because
Sort of like an audio book and a podcast all at the same time.
it's like if an Audible book and a podcast had a baby,
Right.
it's Lies My Doctor Told
And if
Me.
it was a boy,
And it was a
it'd
boy.
be named Cletus
And
Bartholomew.
it was twins that sort of favor, but they're really more paternal than fraternal. Then it would be Lies My Doctor
What
Told
was
Me.
the other name that we were joking on?
Cyrus.
Cyrus Cletus Bartholomew.
Cyrus Bartholomew.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're so excited about Baby Barry, obviously, and then really excited. I'm honored that Carl agreed to be the voice. Of
I'm
Lies My
honored
Doctor
that
Told
you
Me.
wanted me to do it. I mean, it was a lot of fun for me. And
Right. Well, it was
it's a
either
great
you or
project.
Terry Brown, and I figured your voice would just be more
Oh, I don't know. I would have picked Carrie if I was
the
here.
accent and all.
Oh, she's got a dynamite
She
voice.
really does have a
Yeah.
good voice. Yeah, I hope she's feeling better.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love Carrie Brown. And so so let's do some questions and answers. What do you
Sure.
say? You guys, if you have any questions about keto, low carb, carnivore, divorce, politics, religion, you know me, I ain't scared. We'll talk
Coffee,
about whatever.
Bourbon,
Yeah, coffee, bourbon, whatever. Yeah. We'll talk about all of it. So
cheese.
find us a question and we'll talk about this.
All right, let's see. Might have to take what's going on in there? Excited about Audible versions. Congratulations,
Thank you so
Carol.
much, Corey.
How about Pierpont? Pierpont?
Pierpoint as a name for the boy?
Oh, Pierpont as a name?
That's not
Okay.
bad. I've heard worse.
Put my copy on loan. Carrie is wonderful. We
Yes,
totally
she is.
agree.
Yeah, totally
Why
agree.
do doctors tell patients keto is hard on the kidneys?
That's a beautiful question.
let
You
the
start
doc-
and I'll finish.
Okay, I can only start with a story that I had the same problem with my doctor when I started low carb, and they warned it against it because of potential kidney
And
damage.
this is a great story. And then you said,
I was afraid. I mean, I basically stopped because the doctor told me I could damage my kidneys. I thought I was going to kill myself.
yeah. And then didn't you say something like, well, what are you basing that on?
Yeah, where's the science? And of course,
Yeah.
they couldn't show any, but it still was sufficient enough to scare me out of doing a low carb diet.
Yeah.
And it's just bunk. I mean, if a doctor like Jason Fung, who's a kidney doctor,
Right.
gives people a ketogenic diet and fasting to heal their kidneys and all the other things, if it's good enough for him and his patients, it's good enough for me.
Absolutely. And I've been taking care of patients for almost 2 decades now. And before I was recommending the ketogenic diet to my patients, I watched kidney function routinely get worse.
Right.
Not only on the standard American diet, but also on the American Diabetes Association diet.
Right.
And the American Heart Association diet. Kidney function kept getting worse. And when I started recommending a low carb ketogenic diet to people, the kidney function stopped getting worse. And it actually started in some cases to get better.
Yeah, I think Jason says that if it's stage 1 or 2, there's a good chance it can reverse.
Yep. And I've actually seen up to CKD stage 3
Oh, wow.
get better with a very low carb ketogenic
But at a
diet.
certain point, he says, like driving a car without oil, no amount of oil is going to bring your engine back.
That's right. Yeah. And so if you have stage 4 or stage 5, definitely keto's not going to hurt you.
Right.
But it may not reverse that much damage.
It'll stop progressing, but
That's
it
right.
won't.
That's
it might be
exactly
too late.
right. Exactly right. Good question.
Okay.
Great.
What
no,
else,
no.
Nisha? What you got?
So, is it good for heart health?
Good question. So, as you know, over the last 3 or 4 decades, we've had a veritable epidemic of heart disease, right? We've had heart attacks and strokes happening in people's 50s and even 40s, right? And that never used to happen.
20s. I know a
I
guy
mean,
had a heart attack
back when I was
25.
a young boy and you were a young boy, did you ever have a relative have a heart attack in their 40s or 50s?
No.
It was always 70s, 80s.
Right.
That's when you had heart attacks. But now we have these people having heart attacks very early in life. That didn't come from keto. That came from eating all the processed garbage that is the standard American
And I
diet.
think that the seed oils have a lot more to do with it than we currently give them credit for.
It wouldn't surprise me a bit. And so I think a ketogenic diet with good healthy fats, right? Animal fats, not canola and peanut and soybean oil and corn oil. Those are bad for you. Don't use those. But if you're doing a ketogenic diet with good healthy fats, I think it's going to greatly decrease your risk of a heart attack and stroke. And that's why I recommend it to patients.
So just a couple of anecdotes. Richard Morris was keto for 2 years and got a calcium score. And if you haven't heard of a CAC test, this is a test that takes a picture of your heart in between beats.
Yeah.
And it can actually see disease. It can give you a score to tell you how much calcification is in your heart. It's a direct measure. It's not cholesterol, which we don't even know what that does, if it even means anything or not. But and his score was 0, meaning no plaquing.
Right.
After he was abusing his body for half his life, well, most of his life.
Yeah, with
And
crappy diet.
With crappy diet, 2.5 years later, he's got a calcium score of 0.
Yeah, and I've seen that multiple times in my patients. And then we know carnivores, and the carnivore diet, which is you eat nothing but fatty meat, is just a subset of the ketogenic diet. Yeah. And we've had multiple examples of people who've been eating carnivore for years, if not for a decade, and then they have a coronary artery calcium score of 0 or near 0. It's happened multiple times.
Who did you say said that that the score gets 10 to 15% better every year?
Yeah. So
on keto?
What was it? A week or two ago, Nisha, I did a Facebook Live with Dr. Adam Nally.
Adam Nally,
who's known as Doc Muscles. And you
For
can
good
just
reason.
scroll back on this page and you can find that live and listen to it.
He's got muscles like you.
He has muscles, but I think his muscles are bigger than mine.
He's bigger now.
I know his head's bigger than mine, but he said he checks.
Right now, my head is a lot bigger than yours.
You have
Wait
a
a minute,
big,
am I
you have
closer
a
to the
big head?
Am I closer?
Yeah,
I just
I
have
don't
a
know.
big.
Maybe I need to there.
Oh, there we go.
That's
Now-
better. Yeah.
Okay. It's the-
But
it's camera
he
trick.
does coronary. He does carotid artery scans
Yeah.
in his office, and he orders CAC scans all the time on his patients, and he's been doing that for 10 years. And he said that on average, if someone's eating a very low carb ketogenic diet or carnivore, their CAC score, which is a marker of how much blockage they have in their heart arteries,
Literally the calcium that's built up in their
gets
main arteries.
better by 10 or 15% for each year they eat low carb keto. And so absolutely, if you have blockages currently and you want to decrease the size of those, you better get some keto in your life.
Besides, your heart loves ketones as an energy source. Doesn't so much like glucose.
Yeah, cardiac muscle, which is a striated muscle. It's not a voluntary muscle. It's a cardiac muscle, different kind of muscle. It loves to burn ketones for energy, even more so than your smooth. I mean your voluntary muscles, like in your arms and your legs. The heart loves ketones.
So eat your butter.
Eat your butter, eat your ribeye.
Eat your ribeye.
Absolutely. What you got, Nisha Berry?
Why do you need to supplement salt on a keto diet?
So first and foremost, salt is not a supplement. Salt is an essential mineral that is essential for life. Without sodium and chloride, you will die within minutes. Okay, and that's just a medical fact. If I were able to magically reach into you and pull out all your sodium and chloride atoms, you would be dead in seconds. Salt is not a supplement. Salt is a required mineral, as is magnesium and potassium. Now, our ancestors 100,000 years ago got plenty of this because they usually used the blood of animals that they killed. And blood is rich in all the salts, all the minerals. And then they drank groundwater. They drank mud puddle water. They drank creek and river water. And so they got all these minerals. They didn't have to supplement. But I think it's incorrect to even call salt a supplement. It's actually part of a balanced diet. Ooh, I used that balanced word.
Balanced.
Yeah.
So the other thing is that people have been walking around with chronic high insulin now for a couple hundred years. And in that state, your kidneys retain salt. And we considered this for years just to be the normal state of human beings. And so you got to cut your salt, because if your kidneys are retaining a lot of salt, you add salt to your diet, that's not good. You have too much, your body can't regulate it. So once you go low carb, your insulin level drops, your kidneys flush all that salt and other electrolytes, and you have to replace it. And honestly, you have to eat a lot more than you think you need.
Yeah. And I don't want you to think of it as, don't think of it as I have to supplement with salt. I want you to think of it as I get to eat as much salt as I want.
Pretty much.
Because that's what you get to do. You get the salt to taste.
When you've had enough, your body says,
Right. Your body,
more.
your taste for salt is very finely tuned with your levels of those electrolytes in your bloodstream. And so if you need salt, you'll crave salt. If you've had enough salt, your taste buds will turn off and you won't want any salt. So listen to your body.
Yep. Except for that part where it says, eat Doritos.
Yeah, don't listen to that.
That's not your body.
That's not your body.
That's your brain.
That's addiction. Yeah.
Addiction.
What next, Nisha Berry?
Miss Sandy says that she drank 2 tablespoons full of MCT oil and got terrible diarrhea. Is
Disaster
that
pants.
normal, or could I have an underlying intestinal problem?
I don't think you have an intestinal problem, but if that keeps up, obviously you want to go see your doctor because nothing we're talking about tonight is medical advice. We're just two dudes talking tonight. But more and more, as I've done this and counseled other people doing it, I have found that people do much better on animal fats. Many people, coconut oil or MCT oil is just inflammatory to their gut. And that's also a nut. Yeah, 2 tablespoons. But I used to put that in my coffee every morning. But
You're a large man.
yeah,
I've heard a lot of disaster pants stories
with
about
MCT oil.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I think most people do better with butter.
And butter has medium chain triglycerides in it as well, just
That's
not
right.
as much as
That's
pure
exactly
MCT oil.
right. Yeah. And so a good grass-fed butter is what I would use if I were you. That's what I
Coconut
put in
oil.
my coffee every morning. And some people have the same reaction to coconut oil.
Mm.
Some people have the same reaction to avocado oil. And I think that coconut, MCT, and avocado oil are by far the best plant options. And olive oil.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, more and more, the more I do this, the more I really like my bacon grease and my butter.
I love butter.
Yeah. And my tallow.
Yeah.
I love all that stuff. I think that's the fat for humans.
What is the best way to heal your gut?
Eat meat.
Eat your meat.
And salt.
Eat your
and
meat.
nothing else.
Salt
We've
your
been
meat.
talking about this today,
Yeah,
right?
we were talking about this.
When you want to do the ultimate elimination diet, just go back to meat and salt. And if that feels good, now you start adding things one at a time.
Yeah. If you have any gut issue, I would highly recommend you eat a diet consisting only of beef, butter, liver, bacon, and maybe lamb, and ground beef, things like that. Okay? Because, and eggs. Did I say eggs?
You didn't.
I did.
You did
I
now.
right?
You
I
just
did.
did.
I did. Okay, yeah. But those things, your body knows exactly what to do with those. Your gut immediately absorbs those. None of those things make it to your large intestine. They're absorbed almost completely in your small intestine. And so it gives your large intestine a chance to rest because you're not filling it up with all this fiber and garbage.
And plus all the garbage and garbage fiber mostly, right, from salads and things aren't feeding bacteria that might be causing a problem.
Right. And a lot of the bacteria that veggies feed wind up being gas formers and then also can lead to disaster pants, constipation, and other things. A lot of people never have their gut problems go away until they eat a very fatty meat, heavy keto, or they do a month or two of carnivore. And we don't know all the answers as to why that fixes the problem. But have you met anyone yet who that didn't at least improve, if not fix the problem?
No, because I had one woman here at the Keto Mini Fest who said she had a problem with meat, but it was more a gallbladder problem. It wasn't really a meat problem. Right. It was that she had a gallbladder that wasn't working or was removed or something. And if you have a gallbladder removed, you may want to take it slow, eat smaller amounts of food 6 times a day rather than 3 meals a day or 2 meals a day.
Right.
Just because you limit the amount of fat that you eat at one time, and so your gallbladder has enough time to.
You can get there. You just don't want to get there quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Haley says she's currently 34 weeks pregnant. Her husband is not comfortable with her being keto while pregnant. She wants to get back into keto after the baby is born. Should she do this cautiously? Should she wait after baby is born a little bit? Will it affect her milk supply?
Yeah, I think it will affect your milk supply. I think it will make it more nutritious.
She should eat Twinkies and Pop-Tarts.
Right, because that'll help your milk supply, right? Yeah. Anytime there's a baby or a pregnancy or breastfeeding involved, we understandably get very nervous about that. Like, oh my God, you don't want to you don't want to recommend anything that might hurt anything. But what Carl and I are recommending that you eat when you're pregnant, when you're breastfeeding, when you're a toddler, is the proper human diet. The diet that we've eaten as human beings for 250,000 years.
Right.
And that's lots of fatty meat, a little bit of veg, and drink your water and eat lots of salt. That's what we've done since we've been a species on this planet. So when somebody says, ooh, that might be bad for the baby, that would be
as opposed to what?
That would be the same thing as if you told a pregnant woman, you shouldn't be breathing so much. All that air is bad for the baby.
Right.
Or you shouldn't be drinking so much water. All that water is bad for the baby.
You may find you have a superhuman kid at 9 months.
Right. And that, I was talking to Dr. Paul Saladino. I was talking to you about him earlier. He's a carnivore. I'm a carnivore. We're both doctors. And he said, we really feel like that over the next generation, there's going to be almost superhuman children.
I already know one. So, Karen Mangicotti, Mark Miller, who did the Keto Families podcast, they have a son who's 8 and doing calculus.
Yeah.
And he's been keto for 3 of those 8 years.
That's what comes from a kid that you ate keto in the womb, and then while you're breastfeeding, and then you weaned your baby onto keto. That's what you can expect as an 8-year-old doing calculus.
I'm not saying bacon equals calculus, but what I'm saying is this kid is really, really smart. Wicked smart.
Yeah, wicked smart. And so I think that you're not going to do anything to harm your baby by eating real food.
Agreed.
And that's what we're talking about.
Just don't eat sugar and starch. There's nothing dangerous about that.
Goldfish crackers do not help you to build a baby. They don't.
Gatorade isn't going to help.
Nope. Right.
You should be worried about that stuff, not ribeye and butter.
Exactly.
Here's a good one. Are you going to get gout if you go carnivore?
Great question. And so everybody with gout over the last 50 years, raise your hand if you were a carnivore. No? None? Nobody? So what I've noticed as a practicing physician is that my patients with gout, as they continue to lower the carbohydrates in their diet, their gout flare-ups get less and less frequent and less severe. And then I have yet to meet someone who's done the carnivore diet for an extended period of time who had gout in the past have a single gout flare-up. You just don't see it. Gout and kidney stones both kind of follow the same mechanism, and it looks like they're both related to hyperinsulinemia, which you get from eating too many carbohydrates. It's not the meat that causes kidney stones. It's not the meat that causes gout.
It causes extreme satiety.
Yeah.
That's what it causes.
And happiness.
And happiness.
Yeah, in the tummy.
Like goldfish.
No. Quiet you.
Oh, you want to be on camera?
No.
Kelly Franklin over here popping off.
I will.
Here she comes. Get in here.
Where do I go?
There she is.
Hi.
Had her first oyster about an hour ago.
Yes. First
Grew up in Mystic, Connecticut, never had an oyster.
I'm gonna die.
And it's only because Dr. Barry bribed her to have an oyster.
Exactly. What's next, Nisha Berry?
Will you get scurvy if you eat carnivore?
Ah, very good question. So you can actually, there's 2 Facebook groups that you can join. Don't ask that question when you join because you'll get probably kicked out of the group very quickly because there are carnivores who have been doing this diet for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, even 20 years. And they've eaten nothing but meat, drank water, and salt. That's it. That's the entirety of their diet.
That's a little bit longer than a boat trip.
That's longer than a boat trip. That's right. And not a single person has gotten scurvy. Not a single one. And so actually what we've not been told is that there is a little vitamin C in fresh meat. And there's a lot of vitamin C in liver.
There's another reason why we don't get scurvy, and that is because scurvy is not only caused by a lack of vitamin C, but the addition of all the other crappy food, right? That requires antioxidants like vitamin C. We don't require so many antioxidants because we're not so oxidized.
That's right. And scurvy is actually a maladaptation, and you don't make new collagen. And so your skin, your gums, everything starts to break down. But if you're eating lots of collagen-producing materials with a carnivore diet, and you're not eating the glucose that actually competes to get in the cell, it competes directly with ascorbic acid to get inside your cells, then you don't need nearly as much vitamin C. Number one, and then number 2, you're actually getting vitamin C. And if you Google that, you'll see that in meat there's no vitamin C whatsoever. Not true at all. There actually is a little bit. And beef liver and chicken liver actually contain quite a bit of vitamin C, more than enough for a carnivore to never get scurvy. You can look at me. You can look at Sean Baker.
Never seen one.
Amber O'Hearn. I mean, all these people who have been carnivores for years, our skin looks pretty darn good. It's a great question, though. Yeah.
Well, most.
Go ahead.
You have a question?
No, I was gonna state that most keto people I meet put lemon in their water.
Well, that's true.
Anyway,
Yeah.
That's
You
true.
probably get a little vitamin C from the lemon in
where's
the water
my
or the
chunky
lime.
meter?
We'll do that later.
What
Shelly
else,
wants
Nisha
to
Berry?
know, I don't understand why anyone would use extended fasting, like more than 24 hours. Sounds like an eating disorder in the making. Is this actually good for you?
It's a good question.
That's a good question. Now, I never do extended fast. The longest fast I've ever done was 51 hours. And I did fine, but I don't feel a need to do extended fasting. Now, other people who have more metabolic issues than I do find great benefits from intermittent fast or for longer fasts. And you want to talk about that.
Yeah. Was that about intermittent fasting or
Extended
fasting,
Yeah,
right.
right. So what I know about fasting, I learned from Jason Fung and Megan Ramos and those people and at IDM.
Yep.
And from what I understand is that if you're fasting for weight loss, extended fast can tend to work, but your metabolic rate will go down over time. So it doesn't gain you as much as if you would do, say, 3 days. And when your metabolic rate begins to slow down, then you refeed.
Right.
So, and if you're fasting for autophagy, which is the recycling of junky proteins and all of that stuff, 3 days is sufficient to completely recycle everything that needs.
Yep.
So Carl and
So
I
3 days is good.
did an extended fast, and I'm very competitive.
Yeah.
And he lasted 3 days. I made it 4.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And her ketones were like
7.7.
7.7.
Nice.
So if we were playing
And my-
ketone poker, she would have
She
kicked
would have
my
won,
butt.
definitely.
my blood sugar was like 61.
65, yeah,
Nice.
61.
So I think for some people, extended fasting can play a valid role
Right.
in their nutritional health. I don't think it's probably the best strategy for weight loss. It works, no doubt.
Oh, I lost 12
But I
pounds,
think
too.
that you need to use it more if you have prediabetes, if you're type
Yeah.
2 diabetic, if you have insulin resistance, if you have metabolic syndrome, then you may need to implement some extended fasting in your regimen, at least for a while.
But, you know,
until you get that under control.
But the other thing is you could just do a 3-day fast, an intermittent fast, once a month, and then do intermittent fasting the rest of the time. So you're only eating one meal a day, or maybe twice a week, 3 times a week. You do 24-hour fast or something like that, and then just do a 3-day once a month. And you're going to lose just as much weight, and it'll be a lot more painless.
And it's been my experience in practice that almost everybody does great with intermittent fasting, a daily intermittent fast.
Yep.
That works for almost everyone.
Yep,
Well, it works for you.
it does.
When
Yeah.
you do one meal a day and don't nosh at midnight.
Yeah, not midnight noshing is my downfall. Absolutely.
What about for autophagy?
Yeah. So the longer you fast, it looks like the higher the rate of autophagy in your body. That I don't think anybody argues with that.
No, that's true.
And so it looks like it takes about 18 hours of fasting to really start to ramp up the rate of autophagy. And then the longer you fast, it continues to increase. And we don't really know where it maxes out. If it
Right.
maxes out at 3 days or 5 days or 7 days or 10 days, nobody really knows. But I think that's a very valid question, and that's definitely something that needs to be researched.
And what's interesting is that everybody I know who fasts tends to get hungry at hour 18.
Yeah.
And so here's this little strategy that I've talked about is that if you, instead of having dinner your last meal before a fast, where 18 hours is going to be next day, try it breakfast being your last meal. And then 18 hours you'll be asleep.
Right. That's
So
good.
it's easy to
And
make
then
it through the
you'll
first
sleep
day.
through that.
And the first day is
Yeah.
the hardest day.
And most people say that after the second day,
Yeah,
the
it's
hunger's
easy.
really gone.
Yep.
Is that true?
Yeah, yeah.
And
I mean-
you've done 3 full days before.
Oh, yeah, many times. Yeah.
And I've yet to do that. I need to suck it up and do that one time, just so I can talk about it because
Sure.
I've never
We
done
can
it.
have a competition.
We can compete.
All right,
Yeah,
there you go.
Definitely.
So, does it matter how much you are eating when you end your fast? Should you eat a certain amount of food? Is eating too little going to affect your results from fasting?
No, it's a great question. I don't think that eating not enough or eating too much is in any way dangerous unless you're doing a very extended fast. Now, if you fast for 10, 14, 21 days, then you have to start to worry about a thing called refeeding syndrome. But if you're just fasting for 1, 3, or 5 days, you can
I don't know, man.
What if-
you can eat, but now, but
I would be
and-
careful about that.
But here's the thing: if you eat too much too fast, you're going to be in the restroom.
Yeah, well, you're going to have disaster pants.
You'll
no matter
have
what.
disaster pants,
I
that's
still
right.
get it, even after 3
Even
days
if
fast.
you, and so how do you break your 3-day fast?
With a small meal.
Very small
A very
meal.
small meal, yeah. And some people think nuts. No, just some meat and cheese.
Yeah,
You know,
scrambled
little roll
eggs.
up,
That's
scrambled
how.
egg.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Yeah, and then come back an hour later to have your big meal.
yeah, I think that's a great strategy. So you don't have disaster pants as bad.
Well, and refeeding syndrome is a real danger you got to worry about.
it is really, but usually that's after 7 days of
Yeah,
fasting.
you're right.
But
I'd
yeah,
still be careful after 5.
At 5 days, yeah.
Yeah.
I
What
think
about
that's.
women who don't eat enough when they break their fast and say they're stalled out because of low calories or whatever?
Well, you
I
can
like
definitely
broth.
lower your metabolic
Metabolic
rate if
rate,
you do
yeah.
that for too long, and then you don't eat enough when you go back.
Megan says you should either be feasting or fasting, no
Yeah,
in between.
that's
Like when
true.
you're eating,
Don't
you
eat a
should
light
eat.
meal when you
Yeah,
did your
but your
Yeah.
first meal might need to be light so you don't wind up in the restroom.
Well, that's true.
But then when you do, and so this applies, I think, for keto and for fasting. When you
Right.
eat, you need to eat like you mean it.
Right.
You need to eat a full meal until you're comfortably stuffed. Because
Yep.
I think that's what our ancestors did.
I think so, too.
Thousands of years ago. They didn't sit down and say, okay, I'm going to have a 4-ounce portion
Right, no,
of bison and then just a couple of bites of. No, they didn't do that. They ate till they were stuffed. But they ate the right stuff.
There's a great Far Side cartoon about a bunch of lions sitting around a kill, and one gets up and says, I think I'd like a salad.
Right. No, said no lion ever. Yeah, exactly. But when you do eat, you have to eat like you mean it. And I think Megan Ramos is exactly right. You need to fast, but when you eat, you need to feast.
Yep.
Yep, totally
Good.
agree.
Because feasting raises your metabolic rate back
Yep,
up.
Exactly.
And
If
that's-
you're eating the right
If
thing.
you're eating, keto feast always.
Keto feast.
You need to reintroduce your guest.
Okay.
Oh.
So for those
All
of
right.
you just joining, I'm Dr. Ken Berry, board certified family physician, and this is Carl Franklin.
Hello.
Who is one of the original members of the Two Keto Dudes podcast.
That's right.
Tell us about this podcast, if anybody wants to listen, because
Sure.
it's a great podcast.
It started out as a commitment device for me to stick to the ketogenic diet with my guru, Richard Morris from
Yeah.
Australia. I was diabetic, 7.4 A1C, and 366 pounds. And in like 7 or 8 months, but certainly by the end of the year, I had lost 85 pounds. And my A1C is now in the 5s or 4s, I think. It's been a long time since I saw it. Yeah.
Low fives.
Low
Can you do a Richard Morris impression?
No, and I'll refuse.
I love it. So Richard Morris is from Australia.
Yeah.
And he's currently pursuing an undergraduate degree in biochemistry.
Right.
And he's had several other careers. He's like me and you both. He's had
software.
many lives.
Yep.
And this is just the latest incarnation. But if you, a beautiful podcast, if you are just starting this and you just want to hear the science behind the thinking.
Good science, and it's
Good
plain
science.
English.
Yeah, plain English explanation of good science. Then check out the Two Keto Dudes podcast.
It's the number 2.
Who
Give
is
him
your
a
new
s-
co-host?
And the new co-host.
The new co-host who is in the audience is Ms. Carrie Brown,
Hi, Carrie.
who is a trained pastry chef who turned keto to control depression and bipolar 2 symptoms. And after she went ketogenic, now she's completely medication free, symptom free. That's like gone from, complete bipolar, many medications to nothing just by eating a ketogenic diet.
So you're saying that a ketogenic diet can improve mental conditions?
Well, it certainly did for Carrie Brown.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
very interesting.
So we need you to talk more about refeeding syndrome because nobody knows what that is.
Yeah.
Go.
Well, okay. So what I know about refeeding syndrome, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm just a dude, is that you're basically when you eat, you require electrolytes in order to break down food and to properly digest food. And if those aren't readily available, they'll be sucked out of your body, and to the point where you can be starved of electrolytes, and your heart muscle could actually stop.
Yeah.
Is
And
that
so,
right?
And that is right. And so I think it's very ancestrally appropriate to not eat for extended periods of time. And when I say extended periods, I'm talking about hours and hours. Because if you go to the average nutritionist or dietitian or endocrinologist, then they'll tell you, you should eat something every 2 hours so your blood sugar doesn't dip. And that's
Right.
dumb. That makes no sense. And I think everybody should fast for at least 12, 14, 16 hours every single day. But then every now and then, if you want to do an extended fast of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, then, and especially after you fasted for more than 7 days, you have to worry about refeeding syndrome, and it can actually cause electrolyte shifts if you haven't eaten for a long, long time, and then you eat too much too quickly.
Yeah.
And so if you want to know more about fasting and refeeding syndrome, there's an excellent book called The Complete Guide to Fasting by Dr. Jason Fung, F-U-N-G. It's available on Amazon, and it will answer every question you have about extended fasting and refeeding syndrome.
My experience is that the more I fast, the better I get at it, the easier it is, and the less I have to worry about disaster pants and refeeding syndrome. It just doesn't.
Yeah, and I think it's a very powerful metabolic tool.
Yeah.
If you need that tool, and it's like I tell people, you don't hammer a nail with a sledgehammer. And so if you're
Well, you don't.
if you're
I might-
some people
I need
might,
to, 'cause
but
I
if
don't
you're
have those
metabolically
guns.
very healthy, you may not ever need to extended fast. You may not ever need to do that.
Right.
But you probably do need to intermittent fast every day, because I think that's the way the human physiology is set up to work.
Especially if you're at that critical point in your ketogenic journey where you're stalled.
Yes, definitely.
Then you really got to work to get the insulin lower, and that's a really good way to do it.
Yep, exactly. I
Don't
totally agree.
snack.
Yeah, and I'm like that. I intermittent fast every day, anywhere from 18 to 22 hours every single day. That's just my standard life.
Me too.
And I never wake up and say, "Oh, I'm starving. I want to eat breakfast right now." I don't do that anymore. And this is coming from a country boy, who used to have his bacon and eggs and biscuits and gravy and jelly every single morning of my adolescent, teenage, and early adult life.
Yeah.
Now, if I had to sit down and eat a big breakfast like that early in the morning, I would not enjoy that at all. I'm over
I'd be
it.
napping for
Yeah,
hours.
I'd be on the couch when it came time for lunch. I'd be asleep. And so I don't do that anymore because I like to be productive. I like to be mentally alert and clear and sharp, and I like to get shit done. And I can't do that if I'm in a sugar coma on the couch.
Can you say shit on Facebook?
Every now and then, but just not too often.
Okay. I didn't know that shit.
Yeah. Any other great questions, Nisha Berry?
Should you ease into fasting, or can you just start doing keto and fasting right off the bat? Is it something?
Great question. So I think the first thing you need to do is get the ketogenic diet under your belt. You
It'll
agree
be
with that?
certainly easier.
Yeah, start there.
You can fast. Anybody can fast if they can stand it.
Yeah,
but it's
but
going to
guess
be
what?
easier.
You fasted for 8 hours last night when
Right.
you were asleep. You did that. You did that. Congratulations. You've already fasted. And so what I recommend is just get the ketogenic diet under your
agree.
belt.
Yeah, I agree.
Learn the ropes, learn the macros, get all that stuff taken care of, and then you're already fasting 8 hours.
You're
every night.
already not going to be hungry.
Right,
So just
right.
let it
And
go.
because the eating all that good healthy fat's going to help you be satiated.
Right.
You're not going to be hungry.
So
and
let it go a little longer
You can
every day.
increase your fast to 10 hours a day. Do that for a week. Then go to 12 hours a day. Do that for a week. Go to 14, 16, 18 hours. And at some point, you're really going to start to notice the benefits from the metabolic advantage of intermittent fasting, but also the autophagy benefits. When you go to the doctor, all of your inflammatory markers are going to be better. Your A1C is going to be better. Your C-peptide, your fasting insulin, all this stuff gets better when you do keto plus intermittent fasting. But get keto under your belt. That's because you're already helping yourself in hundreds of ways.
Yeah.
With keto.
Yep.
But then when you add the intermittent fasting with it, you're really just kind of hitting the nitrous button.
And fasting is going to be so much easier going from ketogenic,
Absolutely.
fat adapted. It's going to
Absolutely.
be easy.
Now, coming up in a few months, not many months,
No.
is a huge event in New London, Connecticut.
Where's that?
Or is it Connecticut?
Connecticut.
Connecticut.
That's what we say.
Yeah. And I want it's called Keto Fest. Nisha and I went last year and we had an amazing time. I'm speaking again. They invited me back. I don't know why. But I want you to tell people about Keto Fest, because if you can only afford to go to one keto event this year, it needs to be Keto Fest.
It certainly does. So I had this idea that I've been in the software business a long time and I've been to a lot of conferences. Excuse me. And I love the talks. I learn a lot at the talks, but I also like the social aspects of these conferences when you're not in a talk and you're maybe out at the pub and having a pint and talking to people, or, in the hallway, sharing ideas in the speaker's lounge, getting ideas back and forth. And to me, a festival is for people and a conference is for professionals. So this is both the science talks and the social aspects. And we have this thing called Social Saturday, where we have a pig roast and some burgers outside. We have a band. We have a lot of mingling.
So much good food.
There's keto
Music.
cooking demonstrations. There's fitness lessons.
Is there yoga again this year?
There is probably going to be yoga again this year.
Nice.
Yep.
So basically, if a sciencey ketogenic conference, right, and Bonnaroo had
Yeah,
a baby,
that's right.
it would be Keto Fest.
With the best food you've ever eaten.
The best
ever.
food you've ever eaten ever.
No
Absolutely.
STDs.
And no
The
STDs.
restaurant.
Thank you.
Yeah, the
Nisha Berry,
restaurants.
for that.
We have the restaurant.
Yeah.
We have the restaurants. Not all of them, but some.
Almost
really
every
good
restaurant in New London goes keto. For the
Everything
weekend.
walking distance goes keto for the weekend. Yeah,
How can
they
you
all have
beat
dishes.
that? Come to New London and tell us the dates and how they can find out more
So
information.
you can find out more at ketofest.com, ketofest.com. You can buy your tickets there. There's still VIP tickets, so we're having a VIP party where you can hobnob with people like Ken and Nisha face to face at our house, which is where we are right now. It's July 20th and 21st, and there's also an aspect of it on Friday, July 19th, called Fasting Friday. Megan Ramos from IDM is going to be talking about all the latest clinical data from their clinic. plus some fasting tips, and all activities that day have nothing to do with food. So there'll be walking and card games and all that kind of stuff.
Yep, absolutely. And I'll tell you, Nisha and I had an amazing time last year at Keto Fest 2018, and we're really excited about Keto Fest 2019. So if you can only afford to go to one keto conference, go to Keto Fest. We'll see you there. Nisha will be around. You maybe can rub the baby berry bump for good luck.
KetoFest.com.
KetoFest.com.
July 19th, 2021.
KetoFest.com.
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 .com.
Got it. Anything else, Nisha Berry?
Talking a lot about fasting.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to know, can you fast if you are pregnant?
Okay.
They don't recommend it.
If you're pregnant or if you're breastfeeding, you don't have any reason to fast. Don't fast. Now, obviously, you're going to fast when you're sleeping, but you don't need to extend that fast. I think it's probably perfectly safe and fine if you want to extend that fast for maybe and have a 12-hour fast a day. Don't do any more than that if you're pregnant or if you're breastfeeding. You don't
There's
need
just
to
no
do it.
reason
There's just
to.
no reason.
There's
That's
no
right,
reason to,
because
yeah.
your metabolic rate is so much higher when you're pregnant and when you're breastfeeding, because you're basically making another human for 9 months, then you're feeding another human with your own body for however many months you breastfeed, which I hope is a lot of months. And so you're building an extra human and you're feeding an extra human. You don't need to really fast.
They also say you shouldn't fast if you're malnourished.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're already at your ideal body weight,
Yeah.
there's probably no advantage to fasting unless you're getting older and you want to maximize some of the autophagy benefits.
Right.
You might do a little intermittent fasting, maybe a little bit of extended fasting. Only if you're overweight, if you've got too much body fat, if you have prediabetes, if you have fatty liver, if you have fatty pancreas, if you have any of these conditions, fasting is a very, very powerful
Very
metabolic
effective.
tool.
Better
Yeah,
than
it's
any
very-
medication
Yes.
ever.
There's no pill that does what keto plus IF does.
And you'll
There's
save
no pill.
money because you're not eating food all the
Fasting
time.
is the cheapest diet in the world.
Right.
Yeah, it's free.
A pint of whiskey, right? Lol, no beer. No
Yeah.
beer.
Yeah.
Unless you live in Australia, you can get that crazy beer
I caught that
Richard has.
pint. Lol.
Lol. Lol. Yeah, a little whiskey won't hurt you now and then, though.
You want some whiskey?
A little sip every
Later.
now and then. Later. A little sip.
We'll get there.
One last good question, Nisha Berry.
Oh.
If you guys don't follow Nisha on Instagram, what's wrong with you? It's Nisha Loves It. You can find her on YouTube, Instagram. Are you on Twitter? Barely on Twitter. She didn't really like Twitter. And she has a Facebook page as well. Just Google Nisha Loves It. People get mad when I say Google it. Do an internet search for Nisha Loves It.
Google Bing.
We call it Google Bing right now.
Yeah.
Google
yeah,
Bing it.
Yeah.
And Two Keto Dudes also has a Facebook group.
yeah.
And Keto Fest as well. And Instagram.
KetoFest.com.
Yep. KetoFest.com. Take you there.
Please come see us in New London, Connecticut. That'd be awesome.
It's a good time. The best time you... Can I just say one thing about the VIP party?
Yeah, sure.
48-hour sous vide chuck roast.
Oh my god.
All right, so it's in the sous vide, medium rare for 2 days.
Oh.
And it is fork tender. It's like butter.
God, sous vide is the best.
It's the
So
best.
nice. So nice.
That's what we eat.
Do I
Yeah.
get to do that?
Oh, yeah. Yes. You get to serve it. You kidding?
Yes.
You're going to put an apron on you and walk around with a tray.
I'm gonna cut it with a butter knife.
with a cut it with a fork.
Alright, you ready?
I'm ready. Last question.
What is autophagy?
Excellent question. So, your body is the ultimate self-cleaning oven. Most doctors
great idea.
don't know this, okay?
Great analogy.
But if you're filling your mouth with processed garbage all day, every day, you really muck up the works and your body can't ramp up this beautiful process called autophagy. What it is basically your body can recycle used and old and damaged cells and
parts of cells.
and cell organelles. You can break those things down and use them to build new healthy cells. I was just reading an article today in the journal called Cell that you're actually, if you're eating a proper diet and staying active, even into your 70s and 80s, you're making new neurons in your brain constantly.
Wow.
But you obviously, if you kept making new neurons and you didn't break down the old damaged neurons, your head would explode.
It's kind of like if you're going to remodel your kitchen, you don't start putting up the new cabinets until you take the old ones down. So
you're-
when you take the old ones down, those can actually be used to throw on the fire for fuel, or in this case, build in place of protein that you eat.
Exactly. Your body's very wise. The average doctor, for some reason, thinks your body's dumb and stupid, and then if you don't eat for 1 day, your body will start to digest your liver and your eyeballs.
Yeah,
that's
dumb.
ridiculous, right? Your
We
body's
would never have made it past the Middle Ages.
Oh, exactly. Your body's very wise, very ancient, very intelligent. It's going to break down the cells you don't need anymore. So if you've got redundant skin, it's going to break that down and use it. If you've got scar tissue, if you've got damaged kidney cells, damaged liver cells, your body is going to break those cells down and use the lumber, basically, to rebuild new, healthy, vibrant cells. Yep. That's what autophagy is. There's tons of information about autophagy on YouTube videos. I've got a couple of videos about it. Dr. Annette Bosworth has a ton of videos about this. Dr. Fung talks about it in his book. It's spelled AUTOPHAGY.
Literally means eating oneself.
Eating oneself.
Somebody asked if I'm far enough north to have a good and legitimate lobster. No, I'm kidding. In fact, we had lobster today.
And we had lobster today, and it was legit.
And if you come to Keto Fest, there's a place called Captain Scott's Lobster Dock, which you can walk to from Keto Fest, and they have boiled lobsters. And matter of fact, we made lobster bisque for the VIP party from those lobsters last year, and with cream and sherry, and it was just amazing.
So to recap, Baby Barry is a boy. Somebody just asked. They just joined. So it's a boy.
It's a boy.
Yes. So I hope you guys guessed correctly. We're sitting here with Carl Franklin in his kitchen, and he is lovingly hosting us here at his house for a couple of days before we head to New York and then to New Jersey.
As is Kelly.
As is Kelly Franklin.
I named the baby.
What's the baby Barry's name going to be?
Cyrus Bartholomew.
Cyrus Bartholomew.
Cyrus Bartholomew.
Very regal name.
There you have it. Sir Cyrus
Probably
Bartholomew.
Not. Probably not.
Barry. I don't know. We'll consider it.
Okay.
I'll buy him a crown.
Oh.
Because it's a regal name.
He doesn't need a crown. He's going to know how to do calculus when he's 8.
He probably will. He probably did calculus in 6.
So talk about the Audible one more time, and then.
And the reason I'm in New London right now, first and foremost, is to see part of my keto family, Carl Franklin, who I consider a brother and a close friend. And also, Carl and I were doing part of the book, the Audible version of Lies My Doctor Told Me.
Awesome.
And the Kindle version and the paperback is available at Barnes & Noble and Amazon right now. If you don't have your copy, what's wrong with you? But there's going to be an Audible version sometime in June.
Yeah. We hope.
And so if you like to listen to books, and personally that's me, I almost can't read a book anymore. I have to listen to it, the Audible. It's going to be available in June on Amazon, audible.com. And so I'm so excited about that and thankful that Carl Franklin agreed to be the voice of Lies My Doctor Told Me.
We did these little vignettes at the end of every chapter that was sort of like a podcast that has a thread throughout the whole book.
That was fun.
Yeah. And this goober calls up Books A Million as we're driving home and says, "Hey, I'm doing a college thesis, and I want to know if you have this book. It's called Lies My Doctor Told Me. It's Barry. I think it's Ken Barry."
Yeah, that happens.
And they were like, it's in the warehouse.
Yeah, it's in the warehouse. Hadn't gotten the store yet. So
you have to order it.
You guys got to call Barnes & Noble and tell them. And also,
Right.
there are no reviews yet on barnesandnoble.com. And so if you did buy it from Barnes & Noble, consider leaving an honest review. That'll help the book a lot. Yeah, but if you bought it from Amazon, you can't leave a review on Barnes & Noble. They're too smart for that. Yeah. All right. Anything else, guys? Any last words of wisdom?
I think that's it.
Nisha Berry? Speak now or forever hold thy peace. That's it, guys.
Thanks.
We love you. Thanks again to our Facebook supporters and our patrons.
No.
We're going to be in New York. When are we going to be in New York?
Tomorrow.
We're going to be in New York City tomorrow.
Not me, just them.
Just me and Nisha.
And Kim.
And baby boy Barry and Kim Howerton. And we're going to have a meetup at the following location at the following time.
Here, you jump in here and finish
Come.
up.
Oh God, this is hard to get out.
Nisha's my scheduler. If it were up to me to get places, we would never get anywhere.
So tentatively on Thursday in some area of Central Park, to be determined, but probably around 5-ish. But we'll post for sure. But it's like,
Yeah. We'll
If
post
you're
here
in-
on this page.
yeah, if you're in the New York City area, like keep an eye out because we're not from New York, so we don't really know what we're doing
Yeah. But we're gonna be somewhere in Central Park on Thursday.
on
Thursday,
because
this
it's
coming
gonna
Thursday.
rain, like Tuesday and Wednesday. So I didn't think anybody would want to be in the
Still
middle of
close to
Central Park.
Central Park Zoo because people can
Yeah,
That's
pretty
good.
close to the zoo.
Okay,
Yeah,
close to the
that's a
zoo.
great
We don't know where
idea.
that is.
Yeah, we'll find it. Don't
we'll
worry. We'll
figure it
Google
out.
it.
Yeah.
And we'll be there. Grab a copy of Lies My Doctor Told Me, and I'll be happy to sign it for you. And we love you guys so much. Thanks so much to our supporters and our patrons. And we'll see you again. Oh, we're going to be live tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Standard in the patron.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm very
yeah, yeah. And so
confused for a minute.
patrons and supporters, don't forget, we'll be in the
gonna do
private
this.
group tomorrow,
At night.
7 p.m. Central Standard.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be there then. Okay, guys, love you much. See you next time.